The 70th edition of the U.S. Nationals is sponsored by Peak. Peak original equipment technology matches all vehicle manufacturers' antifreeze technology requirements, and Peak has the perfect match for your vehicle. With their line of premium coolant specifically designed to match the technology and color requirements, as well as easy-to-read color cues on the packaging and label, and a list of covered vehicles make it easy to identify the right match for your ride. Find out more information about all Peak antifreeze and coolants at peakauto.com or using the link below. And be sure to sign up for our Peak US Nationals giveaway contest. We're giving away 3 swag bags from our friends at Peak Performance. Winners will be announced during Monday's recap video following the 70th edition of the US Nationals. A link to the form will be provided below. Well, that was a very interesting day here to kick off the pro session qualifying here at the US Nationals. Came into this day gasping for air. It was incredibly hot. I had to hide in the media center pretty much just to not burn to death out here. You're talking, what was like 97 degrees out here today, like 95, feeling like 102. It was brutal conditions all day long, and it looked like that was going to be the case heading into the pro qualifying sessions tonight to set off the field for what might decide the top 16 with the weather coming tomorrow. It's supposed to rain on Saturday. Sunday's kind of up in the air because you never know with these Indiana conditions. So tonight might have been one of the few shots you get on this racetrack, and we saw some very interesting turnouts with how the pro category filled the field, which we'll talk about here in a second. But man, oh man, it was just a brutal day. As we got closer into the night, the conditions actually started to improve. You saw the clouds come over right as about Pro Stock Motorcycle was hitting it, and you saw the temperature just gradually decrease. But the one thing that didn't change was the humidity in the air. Partially the corn sweat that we keep hearing about recently for some odd reason. Partially just because you had the rain last night, that was a thunderstorm. Then you come into today, already high humidity, and it just kept getting worse. And it was choking these engines, leaving moisture on the racetrack, making it a challenge for a lot of these crew guys to get it done. But you did see some pretty impressive times to kick off the US Nationals, and a lot of drivers feel if the rain holds off, those aren't going to hold because the conditions are going to improve as the weekend continues. Some of the interesting developments that we found this weekend, one of them in the top fuel ranks. Clay Millican debuted this weekend with an Arby's sponsored race car. I couldn't believe it. Shout out to my man Kevin Rollins on the camera. He was down in the lanes, saw it, walked up to Clay, asked him what was the deal with your Arby's car. According to Clay, this was a deal that he didn't even know about until last week. This was a deal that was put together by Rick Ware, and as far as he's aware, at the moment, this is possibly a multi-race deal. He's not sure for how long, but it could extend out to not only the IndyCar paddock, but the NASCAR field as well. So a huge gain in sponsorship for the Rick Ware racing community. Not only that, they now have Ford back in the fold, something that we haven't seen since pretty much this race last year. So a big step in the right direction for that team as they continue to gain momentum and continue to put the pressure on this field heading into the countdown. Some other things as well, Tony Stewart and Matt Hagan. Tony Stewart feels like going into this weekend, he is really seeming to catch his stride as he heads towards the countdown. Matt Hagan is more focused on trying to get his qualifying results better. It's been very lackluster because of the fact that he struggled to make it down the racetrack during qualifying, but can go rounds on race day. Said that going into qualifying, they get aggressive off the trailer, and it costs them, and that seemed to be the case tonight. Overdid the engine, really aggressive setup, and it cut off about half track, not the result that they're going to want. And then one of the big developments in the top field category as well, Brittany Force coming in here, I believe 10th in points, needing to perform well in order to make it. This is points and a half, so if she doesn't perform well, and someone like Josh Hart or Jasmine Salinas has a career-like weekend or a season-like weekend, then they could easily bump her out. But right now, she's making the steps that she needs to get it done. Qualifies number 1 here at the end of Q1. Meanwhile, Josh Hart is currently not in the field, so that could be a big development if we don't get another session in come Saturday or Sunday. More importantly as well, you're now looking at the possibility Brittany Force has now gained 4 bonus points. If that holds on, she's going to get the bonus points for the qualifying session, which is going to go a long way towards her championship aspirations. Now, without further ado, let's look into your top 16 in the field. In Pro Stock Motorcycle, it is an MSR 1.2. Angie Smith debuted a new bike tonight, something that you'll hear more about later on in the video. After Sonoma, Matt Smith decided to bring out a new bike, and it paid off big. 6.883 sees her at the top of the field. Matt Smith, her husband, number 2. This could be the weekend where it also turns around for the MSR Buell Camp as they try to catch up to the Suzuki's. An 895 sees him in second. Gage rounds out third. The other MSR bike, Gianna Evaristo, rounds out fourth. Richard Gadsden fifth. Your Seattle winner, Chase Van Sant, in sixth. Chris Bostick seventh. Hector Rona Jr. rounds out the top half. Mark Ingerson down in ninth. Ryan Ayler making his return to the class here this weekend rounds out 10th with a 7.097. Steve Johnson still struggling on that old Suzuki with the monster power behind it. 7.123 sees him in 11th. Gino Scali returning on the same bike that Ellie Tonglet raced for most of the season to begin. He rounds out 12th. Ron Torno in 13th. Wesley Wells, the Greenwood native, a 7.479 sees him 14th. Kelly Klons had to shove the clutch in early. She coasted to the final spot in 15th. And Pro Stock, Greg Anderson ties with Erica Enders for the number one spot, beats her by a mile an hour, 206 to a 205, sees Greg Anderson hold on to the top spot. Erica Enders, like I said, finishes second. Aaron Stanfield third. The points leader Dallas Glenn back in fourth. Jed Coughlin fifth. Fernando Quadra Jr. in sixth. Troy Coughlin Jr. in seventh. And then Christian Quadra rounds out the top half. Another impressive run for Mason McGahey in ninth. Jerry Tugger, your number one qualifier, back from Brainerd, the number 10. Sienna Wildgus, a really good run with a 6.678 in 11th. Eric Latino 12th. Derek Kramer 13th. Camry Caruso making her first return to the class since her crash back in Arizona at the beginning of the season. She making her return, currently sits in the 14th spot with a 6.689. Corey Reed rounds out 15th. David Quadra, the last of the Quadra brothers, currently on the bump with a 6.710, sees him last car in. And as for the racers not qualified, 17th Kenny Delco, 18th Larry Morgan, 19th Derek Reese, 20th Chris McGahey with a 7.109, and Matt Hartford, the big story out of Pro Stock, 7.342, sees him last on the list. In funny car, Blake Alexander continues the momentum built off of Brainerd. He said that back at Brainerd, the two tracks between Indy and Brainerd are the perfect back-to-back tracks because they run very similar because the track conditions are very similar with the bumps. Ends up here, number one qualifier in night one, a 3.890 sees him at the top. Cruz Pedregon, a very much needed good run in qualifying, a 3.901, jumps it all the way up to second. This is a huge turnaround weekend. If he can keep this performance up, especially heading to the countdown, he could be one of the guys to watch. Jack Beckman, we did an interview with him at the JFR shop. You can watch that here right now on the channel if you would like. He finishes third with a 9.03. Austin Prock, your points leader, in fourth with a 9.26. J.R. Todd, coming off that Brainerd explosion, 3.969, sees him fifth. Bobby Bodie continuing to impress after the good run he had back at Brainerd in round one. He sits sixth with a 9.86. Alex DeJoy right behind him with a 9.87. And then rounding out the top half in the Army Snake Prudhomme throwback, Ron Capps with a 9.97. Keep in mind, he had a parachute come out of half track, and he still ran that thing down to the 8th position. Paul Lee rounds out 9th, Chad Green 10th, Daniel Wilkerson 11th, Dale Creasy Jr., your Night Under Fire Funny Car winner, finishes it up in the 12th position. Chris King 13th, Buddy Hull back in 14th, Bob Tasker the third, did not have a good run, had to shut it off, 4.171 sees him in 15th, Dave Richards 16th, 2 cars out of the field. Matt Hagan, like I said, ran aggressive setup for qualifying, he finished 17th, Justin Schrieffer back in the final spot. Lastly, top field dragster Brittany Force, a much-needed turnaround. He's a 740 to take the number one spot. Antron Brown, your back-to-back Nationals winner, finishes second. Billy Torrance third. Sean Reed in the impressive run-up in fourth. Ida Zetterstrom continuing to impress, continuing to improve after a semifinal appearance back at Brainerd. Builds off of that, goes fifth to end night one with an 8.01. Jasmine Slee 6th. Your Arby's man, Clay Milliken in 7th. Tony Stewart, also did an interview with him and Matt Hagan. You can watch that as well. Much needed turnaround for him as he continues to build momentum for that dragster team. He rounds out the top half in 8th. The French-Canadian Dan Mercier down in 9th. Krista Baldwin in 10th. TJ Zizzo in 11th. Lex June with a 4.026 finds himself 12th. Trip Tatum 13th. Doug Coletta 14th. Sean Langdon 15th. And the Sarge, Tony Schumacher, 4.896 sees him in the bump spot. Big story out of top field as well. The cars not in the show. 17th, Josh Hart needing to improve after not qualifying back at Norwalk. Doug Foley, who has looked so strong for one of the part-time racers, in 18th. Steve Torrence down in 19th. And then Justin Ashley down in 20th. Those guys are going to hope they get one more run in the car. So once again, we do have highlights courtesy of NHRA on Fox. We'll listen to that as well as some quotes from your number one qualifiers. But first, a word from our partners at Peak.
Protect your vehicle with Peak Original Equipment Technology. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle.
And for both of these motorcycles, honestly, remember there were some weight change rules, or weight changes made to the rules. And for Chase Van Zandt, he was doing a lot of testing coming into this event, and he's 108 to 60 feet.
And that big thumping V-twin goes 688 at 197 miles an hour, laying the law down as Chase Van Zandt a 697, 193. But Angie Smith rewarded with an aggressive tune-up, low ET. Points leader, Dallas Glenn, the red Torque Systems Camaro. Greg is going, that's 61, maybe better than that. Crushed the first 60 feet, 62-1, almost got there.
Yeah, the best 60-foot of the round, his best 330 of the round. It kind of tailed off a little bit on the top end of the racetrack there. Maybe got into the limiter a little bit early, but a 662.1 and on speed by a tenth of a mile an hour.
Huge header flames for Wilkerson. How about a 389 and 327 for Blake Alexander? There was not a fluke that happened in Brainerd. There was a team that had its act together, and they still. A low 370 for Brittany here is worth a guaranteed 2 nights of sleep. Charging run of 374 at 334 miles an hour. Billy Torrance goes 379, and that is a massive load off their shoulders.
Man, the 2 nights of sleep kick in right now for that race team. And, of course, they've got the rest of the weekend now that they can work on their Monday race day setup. But for David Grubnick, for John Collins, for Brittany Force, for that entire Chevrolet Accessories team right there.
So, obviously, the beginning of the season has been nothing but a struggle. It seems like you guys couldn't buy a break if you wanted to, not only just you, but also with Matt and Gianna throughout the season. To come into this race, go out there in Q1 on a Friday night and kick their teeth in, how gratifying and motivating is that for you heading in this weekend, knowing just how strong these bikes are?
I'm a big person, and I believe on momentum and confidence. So I kind of didn't have any confidence coming into this race just because everything was new, and I just had to start fresh. And I just had to come in with the mindset just to go out there and do what I know to do. And to be number one, it sure gives a little token of confidence to myself. And we just got to go and make a couple more laps, and I think we'll have a confidence. And I needed a long race day. That's what I need for myself, so, and for my entire team. With Matt winning the Sonoma race with doubling up, I think that was a real, eye-opening thing for our team that, we can do it. We just got to put our heads down and grind, and that's what we've been doing all year.
So it looks like the past few weeks, or the past few races, that you guys have really started to turn that performance back around, which you had at the beginning of the season. Do you feel that this is now the turning point for the season for you guys to bring it back to those elite cars, to keep it from the runaway that you guys saw in the countdown last year?
Yeah, I think the momentum's definitely changing, and we're going to be good in the countdown. And I know it's just not going to be my car. Dallas's car is going to be great. The entire stable is going to be great. So we're going to have a lot of cars out there fighting for that championship, and we're going to have a lot of help on our team to try and knock out those elite cars. So that means a lot to me. It's tough when you go in and you only have one of the fleet running good. We don't have that right now. We've got a lot of great running cars, a lot of guys that can win. So it's going to be a heck of a battle. It's going to be great, but we feel good about our chances. Definitely on the upswing. We're starting to get things right, and the performance is definitely there and should get better as we go through the countdown. So I'm looking for big things, and I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you how it's all going to turn out, but I know we're going to be in the thick of the fight, and I know it's going to be a hell of a battle. And we've got a lot of great cars under our roof, under our stable, that can get the job done. So it's going to be fun.
When you won Brainerd, you said that this track and Brainerd are the perfect back-to-back tracks, that they run very similar with the setups and that the times are similar. Did that end up becoming true? Did this feel just like how Brainerd went? And, do you feel like now that you have this run that you're going to be able to keep this up and then maybe score a U.S. Nationals win?
Yeah, I said that when we ran really good at Norwalk, that I can look on the computer and I can tell when we're not trying hard, and when I won in Top Fuel and when I've done well in Funny Car. You've got to make good runs and not have the car be, on the edge of disaster, smoking the tires or something going wrong. And we've made a lot of good runs in our race team before, but we've made repeatable runs this year that are good runs, and that makes us dangerous. So I knew it was going to be similar, and it's hard to make horsepower when it's really hot and really thick and really nasty, but I promise you, and you can look at the scoreboards and the time slips, we can still make a lot of power here.
Last thing is, you talked about just kind of where this team is and how dangerous you guys are. Do you feel like you guys were there, but it seems like, in the last, few weeks you've taken another step. Do you feel like this team has done that?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I feel like we were trying to at the beginning of the year, but honestly, our team's been trying to take steps every single year, and people don't realize how hard it is to actually take a successful step and go up there. Like you're asking a small team from Ohio to go out there and outrun Jimmy Prock and Aaron Brooks and these guys who are making their parts down the road here. They're supported by big 4 manufacturers. They all make a lot more money than all of us do, and they all have double the staff, double the building, everything. So for us to do well against them, it's extremely difficult. But we're here, and there's still a lot of challenges ahead.
Absolutely. Anything else for Blake? All right. Congrats, Blake. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. I love shitting on big teams sometimes.
So following your 2022 championship, the past 2 seasons has not been what you guys would have wanted. It's been frustration ever since that championship was won. To come here now with your backs against the wall, needing to perform to make this countdown, how motivating is it for your team to get that round, line up that scoreboard, and end on Friday night number 1?
It's definitely motivating, but we haven't lost our motivation, all season long. We've been fighting just to improve and be better and qualify top 5, go rounds on race day, and it's been unfortunate, but it hasn't happened for us. But our motivation never went away. We kept pushing. Every weekend we came out, we thought this is going to be our weekend. So that never left this team. These guys have been, amazing support system for all of us. I mean, you have your moments where you're down, you got beat, and it's like, we get together as a team, we have team meetings, and let's pump each other back up, and let's go out and let's win the next one. So, to go from such a high to, a really challenging 2 season, it's tough, but that's just the way it works. You have your ups and downs, you learn from them. The most you ever learn are on your downfalls, the mistakes that you make. So we'll come back, I know we will, from this, and this is a great start to that.
So that's going to wrap up our Friday content here from the U.S. Nationals. Once again, if you guys like the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel today so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. We're going to be having a sportsman video coming out here shortly. We're going to have that all weekend long, have a lot of developing stories within the pro pits that we're going to have play out this weekend at the Big Go as we get set for the countdown. So if you like drag racing content and you want to know what's going on in the countdown, subscribe today so you don't miss any of the action. Also be sure, follow us on the social media pages. My name is Matt Hartford on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I've been posting updates all weekend long. We have photos from Brody. We're going to be posting those tomorrow as well. Also be sure, link below, sign up for the Peak U.S. Nationals giveaway. We have a lot of people already entered this weekend so far. We want to have a lot more, so we have a huge turnout to try and win the 3 swag bags, including a signed hat from Fast Jack Beckman himself. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until Saturday afternoon, this has been Money Mac. We'll see you next time.